Well, hello and welcome to the live session of the Elim Digital Conference. My name is Jason and it's so great to have you with us today. This session is a digital panel. We've got an amazing group of people who are ready and willing to take your digital related questions. No question too big or too small, and we'll try our very best to answer them tonight. But we've had a fantastic day, and if you've not caught any of the Elim Digital Conference, you can check out all the sessions on Facebook and YouTube. Just search for Elim Pentecostal Church and you'll find them all there to help and equip you. But as I say, tonight we've got an amazing panel of people who are here to answer your questions. So let's introduce them one by one. Firstly, Ben, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are and where you are in the world?
I'm first. That was a surprise. That's great. Thanks so much for having me. It's so good to be here. I am Ben. I'm music and digital director of the Forge Church, which is a multi-site church in rural Suffolk.
Fantastic, brilliant. And I love your setup behind you. Very, very smart.
Yeah, no, this is just the little shed. Honestly, it looks fancy, but it's not.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Next up, we've got Bethan. Bethan, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are and where you are in the world?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I'm Bethan Spencer, and I'm from Exeter, and I work on the senior management team at the YMCA here in the city.
Fantastic. You do brilliant stuff at the YMCA, absolutely fantastic. And I'd love to introduce you to two people, but first up, here's Gaz. Gaz, introduce yourself and who you are.
Hey guys, I'm Gaz. I'm the creative director here at Coventry Elim, and it's great to be with you tonight. So I look after the worship team and production team alongside Oscar.
And we've not just got one person from Coventry Elim. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Oscar joining us as well. Don't tell us who you are, Oscar.
Hello everyone. Yeah, my name is Oscar and I'm digital director here at Coventry Elim. Really love this place. Really love, working with Gaz and working with the team here.
Fantastic. Well, honestly, thank you so much for being here tonight. And hopefully, with all our different backgrounds and experience, we've got Ben with social media, we've got Bethan who's kind of marketing, comms, all sorts of things involved in Bethan, and then we've got Oscar and Gaz on the whole live streaming broadcasting front. Hopefully, we're here to answer any questions you've got, and I can see they're coming in thick and fast, which is absolutely amazing. But first of all, I've got a question that, and this is to throw out to all of you. We've had one question today, and it was this. We still have a lot of perhaps for older congregations, the idea of using digital can be a little bit scary. It can be a bit of an unknown entity, really. And I guess to each of you, really, for someone who is very unfamiliar with the online world, the idea of using laptops, the idea of watching online just seems a very remote thing. How would you encourage someone, and how would you help someone using a digital space, make use of the digital space? Gaz, can I start with you? Because I know you were saying some thoughts, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a load of challenges there, but there are ways around those challenges. One method I've seen churches use, which works well for drawing people into like a Zoom meeting. So a lot of churches are using Zoom as a replacement for meetings. We use it at Coventry Elim to replace like some of our midweek meetings. And Zoom has a really great feature where you can actually call in from like a landline from a phone. So as long as somebody's got a phone connection, they can still participate in the audio element of that meeting. And that's just a really simple way to draw somebody into like the digital realm, help them to feel part of the church community. It might not work for like a Sunday broadcast, but at least on a midweek meeting, people can still have that connection point.
Really useful there. Bethan, you've got experience of working with wide-ranging audiences, perhaps those who are very unfamiliar with digital. How do you engage with lots of different varieties of audiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So being from YMCA Exeter, youth and young people as kind of like our primary audience, but actually speaking from my own church experience is that I've been kind of, I guess, volunteering with the church and doing like phone calls to elderly people, like literally just a landline. And for many of them, I think there is a choice about not wanting to go digital. There's something quite personal and I think quite intimate when you invite somebody into your home on Zoom. A family situation, people might not want to show off or for people to know about, whatever it might be. So actually, so much of my role is just about celebrating any kind of connection, whether that is digital or not at the moment.
I love that. That's great. I love that. The good old fashioned phone. It's and I think supporting people who are really unfamiliar with digital can be over the phone, can't it? And we can do it even for a leaflet in the post or something of how to use Zoom. I know we did that as a church. We produced a little leaflet for people who are very unfamiliar using digital to say, here's the steps. 3-pointer steps. This is how you got on a Zoom call, which is really useful. Ben, you working with a wide range of audiences there. For those who are perhaps got more of an older demographic, I think it's fair to say, how do you support them in digital and getting them engaged that way?
Yeah, I think it's been a struggle, to be honest. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that we've worked that out, because I don't think we have. But I think we have found that the more personal gatherings have really appealed to the older generation. So being able to do kind of smaller Zoom calls has always been more attractive than like a Facebook experience. And we've also made sure that we've put content out in as many varieties places as possible, because I think it's like really easy for people like us just to be like, well, if we put it on Facebook, everyone's got Facebook, right? So we've just been kind of really deliberate about like, I know it's still digital, but like we'll upload it to YouTube, make sure that YouTube link is in our weekly email blast. Do you know what I mean? And just making sure it's across all of our platforms. And also, like, similarly to you, one of the very first things we did was make a Zoom tutorial. Just the stuff out there seemed like really complex. And I think it's an intimidating time for people. So just to see a familiar face that everyone knew talking them through the same stuff that was on a tutorial that had already been made, but just was kind of like a calming presence. So that's one of the things that we did straight away.
I love that. Fantastic. Tutorials, phone calls, and encouragement, really, isn't it? Like, it's not a scary thing. We all every time we turn on the laptop, we're discovering something new quite often, aren't we? And I think it's just that encouragement that it's okay to log on. It's not a scary world. It's absolutely fine to engage that way. So hopefully that kind of gives some sort of ideas, really, how to engage with people who are very unfamiliar with the digital world and I'm not sure where to begin. Hopefully some ideas to take away with you there. Let's go straight to the questions, because they are coming in thick and fast. This one is from a guy called Simon Law, and he says this: do you have any recommendations for how to start live streaming when you have limited broadband connectivity and are a small church with limited number of technical people? Big question. It is indeed. Oscar and Gaz, do you want to kick us off on this one? Go on, Oscar.
This is not an easy one, but I would say, I think if you have like a reliable 4G connectivity on your phone, that is pretty good to carry a stream to Facebook or to carry a stream to YouTube. But I would say Facebook, being that it takes the resolution is a very low resolution requirement on the other side. So for streaming, it's much easier, and much like the requirement on the internet is not that much. And so I think if you had a good like reliable 4G signal on your phone, and something that a package that is able to carry that, I think that can still work for streaming. And in the setup that we talked about earlier, where you can use your one phone to stream, that totally works.
I love that. And Gaz, you can get like 4G dongles, can't you, for your laptop and everything like that, right?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and they can be a really good solution. I think a lot of providers as well will allow you to test the speed before you buy, using some of their websites. You can stick a postcode in and check what sort of speed you'll get. There are dongle solutions. The other thing I'd say as well is if you do have a line internet connection, it's worth just running some tests on it, because you'd be surprised what you can actually stream with. And so first things, make sure you're wired in, not running on Wi-Fi, but running a hardline connection. And then if you set up a YouTube account for your church, you can run test streams that nobody can watch. And I think one of the most important things that you can do to grow in online streaming is to get data, like get information about how your stream looks and sounds. So one of the most important parts of our process is we've been running tests all the time. Every time we change something, run a test with a band, run a test of a spoken word, just run lots of tests and then review them and watch them back. And you can do that really low risk on YouTube because nobody can see it. So you can find that resolution that might work. You might be able to stream to like 480 on YouTube and it actually be okay and be stable enough. So I would say big thing, check out 4G dongles. That could be a great solution. But if you want to try and maximize your actual broadband, get a hard line in and just run a test and see what it looks like and then tweak the resolution accordingly. It might be that it's slow enough, but we've heard stories of people being able to stream on really low connections as long as you find that sweet spot.
I love it. That's really good. Keep on testing, try it out and see what works for you. I love it. Hopefully that kind of helps a little bit, Simon, to guide you. I say 4G probably is a way to go and what that looks like for you. We've got Catherine here, and this is a question for each of you to have a comment on really. How can you measure engagement with online output other than viewing figures? Because and I know there's lots of variances in this. So we look at a live stream, and how do we see if a live stream is successful? When we put a social media post out there, how do we know a social media post is successful? Like, what numbers do we look at? Because there are loads of numbers that you can have a look at. If you look on Facebook analytics, there are loads of numbers there. But what do you look for? When you put stuff out there, what do you look at? Bethan, with the YMCA and social media, how do you know if a post is being successful, or what do you look for?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously views and figures are really helpful. I think just more than what a post is viewed or a video is viewed, we look at actually, are we reaching the audience we want to reach with that? And Facebook is great, YouTube is great with kind of digging into analytics, and there's various tutorials online about how to interpret the data that YouTube and Facebook provide, an account holder. But if we're doing a post or a live stream or something that's about a new service that we're launching, or how young people can get referred into the services they need, we'll actually look at, well, is this post engaging 16 to 24-year-olds who are our primary audience on this post? And actually, if it's not, then maybe that's we need to do some tweaks in language or time of post, or what the post consists of. So I think I would dig into your audience. Don't be afraid to reach new audiences at the moment, and to try and reach look at your market. Who do you want to attract to the church or the gathering that you're doing? Is it young families? Is it older isolated people? Who is it? And then kind of work your content around your audience.
That's really useful. I love that. Actually, who are you reaching? Is it the audience you want to reach? Ben, you do loads of social media posts. What are the things you look out for in terms of what is a success?
Yeah, I think that's just was brilliant what's just been said, because I think I would actually think about different level of success for different posts and what I would count as success. So like I spoke earlier about like being really deliberate about when we post, not so that it necessarily would get the most engagement, but so that it's reaching the people that we want to reach, because our goal is different with each sort of style of post that we do. So for an engagement piece where I'm literally just trying to make the algorithm work for our Sunday service, and I'm doing a poll on how you like toast, I want to post that at a time where everyone's awake. Like Friday at 4 o'clock is a great time for us because everyone's kind of still at work, but not really at work, and just on Facebook and tagging their mates and stuff. And I just, my one goal for that is just engagement. Whereas if I'm like repurposing maybe a talk from Sunday or a point that's like about mental health, I'm not going to post that at 11:30 in the morning. I'm going to post that at like 3 o'clock in the morning, because my hope is that that's going to help one person in one situation that's desperate and scrolling through. So yeah, I think just about kind of making goals that are realistic for what you actually want to achieve, not just being like, I mean, one thing I just think is not worth thinking about is like there's this whole thing about Facebook and organic reach at the moment, like how no one can get any organic reach from Facebook. They have to boost posts. So I'd ditch measuring reach if I were you and just look at engagement, likes, comments and shares. And I think broadly speaking, our ultimate goal is a share for all of us, because it's sharing our message, it's sharing what we do. So does that answer the question?
That's really interesting, yeah. And because you do see these numbers which jump out to you, don't they, on posts? But actually, are they numbers we want to have a look at?
Yeah.
Are they relevant to our, Gaz and Oscar, in terms of your, your broadcasters, Coventry, Elim? The question here from Catherine is specifically about that viewing figures. Is that what you look at as the main number that you look at, or what do you look for in terms of metrics?
Yeah, it's one of the figures that we look at, and it does give a broad overview of growth. But obviously, as you guys know, that there's a load of things at play to get those figures where they are, and sometimes you get lucky on the YouTube algorithm, and sometimes you don't. So you can't take too much from them. It's just a good broad view. I think we try and look into the analytics to look who's actually looking for church and who's accidentally found it. That's some helpful insight. Who's searching for our church on Google and who's actually just getting suggested it by the fact that we've had a few hits that week. So yeah, I think those are more useful figures. But I mean, they're all, for us, I think we feel like they're all wins, because ultimately there's a whole load of people out there that we want to reach with our message, and some people are going to intentionally look for it, and that's great. But some people might accidentally stumble across it, but that's still great as well. And we can't downplay the wide reach of Church Online. We're just praying that it doesn't stay at that level, but it's a stepping stone for people to enter into a more meaningful interaction with church.
I love it. That's really interesting. I love what you guys say. Keep the questions coming. I do appreciate there's a lot of questions in there, so we'll try to get as many through possible, but hopefully I'm kind of picking out lots of variety at the moment, and then we'll go into perhaps related questions in a bit. This one is from Hannah Davis. Production tends to be one of the most difficult teams to recruit because of the misconceptions that you have to be super techie to volunteer. How have you recruited during COVID particularly? It's a great question. Anyone want to pitch into that answer? And it falls silent. Go on, Oscar. I can tell you're going to say something.
It's a very interesting question. We haven't actually made any intentional pushes for people to join during COVID. But I think the culture of our sort of service culture at church has always been that it is open for anyone and it is free for anyone to come in and serve. So I think the building a culture that allows anyone to be able to come in and be able to work and serve with whatever they've got, I think is really helpful. I think our it's always been, even when we're talking about our volunteers from the front and saying we have volunteers who are like, GPs or people who are doing normal jobs every day, 24-hour jobs, and they still serve, they still come and serve. I think that opens up the playing field, because people know that they can come in from whichever level and they can still be able to serve. And so we've been having people just coming in and saying, do we need help? There's lots of people just offering their time to help.
I love that. That's really interesting. Throw it to you, Bethan, because you work with a lot of volunteers at the Y, and they might come to you and they might not have any experience of doing a role, but that training is quite important, right? And yeah, in terms of the production area, perhaps would you say offering really good training as part of the process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think training is key. And even if someone's starting brand new from scratch, actually this past year, people have been wanting new opportunities, whether that's new volunteering opportunities or job opportunities, and, are actually quite willing to learn a new skill if that support is kind of put in place for them. Thinking about and my church experiences, I know we've had quite a big recruitment of volunteers in the past year for tech and sound and production. And actually, one of the newest volunteers was someone who is actually brand new to the church and stumbled across church online for the first time in the first year, got in touch to say, is there any way they can help and start to get to know people, obviously in a safe way and with the restrictions. And actually the place to do that was on the production team, because that's where we needed, you know, some of the most help in the past year. So brand new to church, brand new to you know, this skill set, but has absolutely just thrown themselves into it. So yeah, don't be afraid to still reach out, because people want to do stuff and people want to help.
I love that. Actually recruiting people who really get the vision of church online. So I know at Rediscovered Church, we had a family who came across our live stream in New Zealand, believe it or not. And they moved to Exeter, and they knew what the church is like through watching from New Zealand. And their involvement with the media team is from a viewer perspective. Like, they knew what it was like from the viewer. They get the point of it. Like, this is not just to throw it out there and see who does it. This is a ministry outreach, so we could easily communicate with them, and they really, you know, get the vision. Really, here's another top tip. Like we've said to all our new volunteers, is basically, can you use your phone to take photos? Can you use your phone to take video? If you can do that, you've got a good head start on using a camera. Like, you know, they are very different, but essentially, if you've got an idea of how to use it, that's a good start there. You got some Ben, did you want to say anything on that, or are you okay?
Yeah, I think we've found, like, people in two schools of thought when it comes to serving during this time. They're either like chomping at the bit, please get me involved, or like, no, I haven't had a Sunday off in 7 years and I'm loving this. Please never contact me again. And not a lot in between. But one of the things that we've like really pushed for in this season is kind of like this new team that we didn't actually have before, of like online hosts. Just people like taking prayer requests in the comments, again, like driving that engagement stuff, because every reply to a comment is a comment, right? So that helps you with the algorithm. But like, they're just there and they're caring for people. And we've found that like young people are really into this. So I think we've equipped a team of like 7 or 8 people that are all under 30, because they're all on Facebook. They're all in the comments anyway. And we've just said, here's admin details. Can you just be you? And we've actually found that that's really helped pastor and disciple people as well. So that's kind of been a whole new team that we've managed to kind of establish during this time. And we have different people responsible for different, because we stream to YouTube Church Online and Facebook, and we have different people in different areas. And if you haven't like checked out some of the hosting tools on Church Online, like there's some really cool stuff that you can do and support people with. So that's one of the teams we've kind of been investigating.
I love that. And it's also, you know, a younger generation perhaps can speak in a language that's very familiar to the audience, really. Yeah. Not very Christianese and using all lingo that no one quite understands. Yeah. But it's very, very relational here. We're going to move on to a different topic here. And this one is from Dr. Caleb. Is Zoom a good platform to stream live worship? We seem to have issues with sound cutting in and out. Now, I don't know who's the best person who wants to speak into this one.
I can go if you like.
Go for it, Gaz.
We found that Zoom is particularly challenging for live worship. It's very hit and miss. Even if you get your settings right, there are a number of things you can do to make it slightly better. And maybe if someone wants to get in touch, you can talk through them. Or even if you just Google music and Zoom, you'll come up with the things like turning on original sound and turning off echo and all that stuff. But even when you do all of that, it is still a bit temperamental. We found that the best way to do it for Zoom is to set up an interface with a mic and do it in that way. But it's a bit complicated. So yeah, I would say the answer to your question is it's not a particularly good platform for live worship.
One thing that I know people have done is gone onto settings, audio settings on Zoom, and take out the processing function. So if you're familiar on Zoom, it does funny stuff with sound. It's just trying to get rid of background noise. It's always trying to do. But I think there is a button on there that says basically get original sound. Don't do any processing with it. We just want the clean sound. So I would recommend on that one, if the sound is cutting in and out or being a little bit weird, sounding weird, just have a look on the audio settings and have a play, because I reckon there's a setting there that is worth toggling. Anyone else on that one, or should we move on to the next one? Let's do it. Let's go on to the next one. This one here, I love this question from John. What is the best video translation and subtitling apps or services? Cost could be in consideration. Also, a lot of the AL translation platforms are wildly off. How are subtitles in foreign language doable? Wow. So I don't know if anyone has experience here of post-production captions or subtitling or something like that. We probably have all got different web apps we use, right, in all sorts of different things. Ben, looks like you might have a thought on that one.
Yeah. So I can only really talk for like post video, because like live seems to be a whole different thing at the moment. But I just use a program called Subtitle that I think we pay a subscription for, and you upload videos and you can kind of just fiddle around with the captions, and the AI is pretty good on there, and that kind of works. That's my short answer to that. Subtitle with a Z or a Z if you're our friends in America.
There we go. And also, like on a lot, you can do it manually, can't you, as well? Just type up the subtitles. If it's, you want to do a pre-record, take quite a while to get all those subtitles in, but you will get there some way or the other. Questions. I'm going to do one that we had a question from earlier on the day. Let's get rid of that question there. Is how do we create social media that stops the scroll? Now, we had a session earlier on in the day about social media, but our social media feeds are very busy. We probably follow loads of pages. We receive a lot of content, but how do you create that social media that stops the scroll and gets people's attention? Give me, who wants to kind of chip in with some thoughts or ideas for posts?
I can go for one.
Go for it.
Good news. Like, we cannot underestimate the power of good news at the moment. And I think in general, but actually, good news is huge, whether that's social media. We announced last week a new housing project for the city. And I think even on that organic reach, and like we were saying earlier, it's quite difficult to get a widespread reach on that. But we had about 5,000 views because it was such a good news story. And, when we even, I know it's not quite social media, but we were speaking to local journalists about the project, and they said just how nice it was to hear from an organisation which had good news for them to report on. So we cannot underestimate, I think, the power of good news, stories of real people, of real things that are happening despite the pandemic and the other struggles that we face at the moment. So I would just chip in with anything good that you've got to share it.
I absolutely love that. I mean, right now it's, there's not necessarily too much good news out there, is there? But it's just sharing good news. I know I was scrolling from our feed and saw that news story that Bethan was mentioning there, and it really did. I was like, gosh, this is such good news. Like, it was a happy thing. I was like, yes, share. I'm on the way for that. It was absolutely brilliant. I love that. Any other thoughts? Stop the scroll. Give me some ideas of what may encourage people to stop the scrolling.
We can sometimes be a little bit cheeky as kind of part of our personality and part of who we are as the church. We like to have a laugh and like to have fun. And sometimes we use that. Like just on Valentine's Day, actually, I just did a picture that had have you seen those pictures on social media that are like, look right and then look left, and then it takes you round and round the picture, and then right in the middle, like really faded out, I put like, don't forget it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. So that's like stopped the scroll and probably annoyed people a bit, but it got like quite a lot of comments and stuff. And the more time people are spending on that, the more time the algorithm's going to work for you. And we'll just be really intentional with subtitles. Sorry, not subtitles, but titles on videos and stuff. So if there's a talk on, I don't know, I can't think of an example, but the talk could be on Mark III, but we say, how do you solve this problem in your life? Or do you why does God allow suffering? Or, all these things, just be really kind of intentional and a little bit clickbaity, not dishonest, but clickbaity in our titles, just to really kind of grab people in and stop the scroll.
I love that. And if you're wondering about that post, I saw it on my timeline. It sounds like I'm on my phone all the time, and I keep saying this, which wouldn't be wrong. And it really did stop the scroll because it was so unusual. Like literally, I was like, look at left. I was like, okay, look at left, look right. And I know earlier you mentioned about something to do with toast. Which I tell you what, people might be inquisitive about. Check out Forge Community Church. Find out what it's all about because it's a really fun post. I love it. Anything from Oscar or Gaz, or happy to move on? Yeah, go for Oscar. You think you want to say something?
Oh yeah, I get those are really good ideas. We've been trying all sorts of post ideas to try and see if we can catch people's attention. I think titling is a really good idea. Making sure the titles are a bit catchy, and also asking for engagement, like asking, let's say, if you see this, like, do the hands up emoji or something, like just trying to get people to, because it's really easy for someone just to put up an emoji and that's a comment, and like it's not really like they've written anything, but for us that's a comment, and that brings on engagement, like adding little action things to every post so that people add action to it. Yeah,
I love that. That's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, guys, I think on social media it's about experimenting as well, isn't it? Trying stuff out and also like just nicking ideas from other churches and using them as your own. I think that's allowed because you just want to see what's out there. And I'm always like screen grabbing on my phone whenever I see a post from a charity or church web. I'm just screen grabbing it. So when I'm creating my social media post, I just use that as an ideas base. Cheeky thing, I might even use the wording sometimes. But because if it's worked for me, I'm like, well, that's going to work for someone else. So, see what's out there and use that as ideas. But love those ideas. We've got a really specific question here from Mike Leggett. Great to have you this evening, Mick, sorry. And is this, with the team of one, so just himself, would a desktop computer, A10 Mini Pro Presenter 7.4, and a Gato Stream Deck and BitFocus Companion make streaming and lyrics work with a remotely operatable HD camcorder? Now there are a lot of words in there. Which I'm not very techie for, but Gaz and Oscar look like they are inquisitive. Do you have any thoughts on that, both of you?
Yeah, I'm just rereading it. Yeah, I think you can make that work. I mean, the fewer people you have, obviously there's a limit to how many buttons you can press simultaneously. So it kind of depends on your multitasking capability as well. I think switching cameras, if you've got just one, if you're saying just one camcorder, then you're focusing on lower thirds on the A10 on Pro Presenter. So yeah, I think that would work. You just have to be careful about your setup. The Stream Decks are fantastic tools because you can utilize them really well, even across different softwares as well. We use, Oscar will be able to tell you in more detail, but we use the companion software to help it work with both our ATEM and Pro Presenter. So that could be a really useful tool for you just to streamline so that you're not super stressed and trying to operate a million different things on a Sunday. Oscar, why don't you chip in, mate?
Yeah, I think I totally agree. I think this is probably the best one-man band solution here. Like if you have
Look at that, the best. Just a quote: the best one-man band solution. Mick, you've made it.
I think, yeah, you have your computer, you've got the ATEM to stream, you've got Pro Presenter for your lyrics, you've got Stream Deck for control, and you've got Companion to do all your Stream Deck customization. Stream Deck, I would not recommend this anymore. Like it is a really, really good tool. Like just a little tiny box that's got all the control. And it talks to all the different software in your computer. It will literally talk to it from wherever. And so we've got two Stream Decks, one upstairs and one downstairs, and they're just connected with one cable. And they do our lower thirds for the preaching, and basically anyone who's on those Stream Decks can control anything that is happening on the live stream. So this I would say is like 100%. I would say yes. This is a one-man band thing. This is
Wow,
perfect.
100%, Mick. You are on it there. That's brilliant. Keep your questions coming in the chat. Another question here that was from earlier was principally this: how do we connect young people who are digitally exhausted? And we did have a youth work session, which you can catch up on demand. But Bethan, you talked to me the other day about something you've been doing with young people and gaming at the Y, which is really interesting. Something a bit different for young people to interact with. Do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to start with, we mustn't necessarily confuse digital exhaustion with Zoom exhaustion. So just because someone isn't opting to take part in a Zoom or a live stream doesn't mean they're not on their phones or on their tablets or spending their evenings on Netflix or gaming, as we found at YMCA Exeter. And so, yeah, that's one of the things that we have been doing this year, is actually going to the digital places where we know our young people are. The majority of the residents who live with us are gaming. Whether they're gaming with us or they're gaming on their own, they're gaming, and we've got various kind of online multiplayer groups at the moment. You might have heard of games like Among Us, Pictionary type games where you can connect with other people just simply through a room code, and then you're gaming with other people. So it's very social, but also interestingly, I did this the other night with some couple friends of ours, and we were having a meal together on Zoom, but actually spent most of the evening playing Among Us. And and we're all 30 somethings, so don't underestimate, I think, the power of going to where young people are, or where your congregations are as well, even if that's something new. Setting up games nights. Who doesn't love a games night, a board games night, card games night? And we can do these things online. And yeah, we've been doing all sorts of live streaming games once a week. We've been doing a gaming and well-being podcast once a week. Some of my colleagues have been working on that. And that's also been reaching older people, perhaps people with teenagers, parents of younger kids. So lots of things around gaming. You don't necessarily need to be on Zoom at the same time, or, whatever, but you can do these things with people, just like how in normal times you would go and play tennis, or you go for a coffee, or whatever it might be. There's still ways to connect with people and their hobbies, even at the moment.
I love that. Some really creative ideas there. Going to where young people are, and about gaming. I've got to check those things out. I've not explored that. That sounds a right love. Definitely, I love those ideas. And yeah, you're right. Like, we can, so many people are stuck in front of a computer for a long time today, but then about mixing it up, trying different stuff, something visually different on screen than just another Zoom call, right? It's a good choice. But honestly, Bethan, that was absolutely fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant. We've got a question here from Eddie. Eddie says this: hi guys, do you have any recommendations for background lighting on Zoom calls to get a clearer picture? We had a session earlier on in the day talking about budget options for live streaming, and we talked about lighting, didn't we, a little bit there? He wants to kind of chip in with some thoughts about how to get good background lighting on Zoom calls. Go for it, Gaz.
Sure thing. Yeah, I mean, there's like standard lighting. You want like a key light that's coming at you from either left or right, and then you can fill that out with a fill light, which will just take the shadows off the side of your face, which doesn't have the key light. And then if you want to go a little bit extra, you can have a headlight, which is like behind you, just to help you separate from the background. And basically, the more of those three things you have, the better your lighting will be. It's really just about experimenting, though, with your setup. You talk about background light. What you really want is light on the subject, though. So background light's helpful for removing shadows. If you have a big, nice light on you, you might then cast shadows on the wall behind you, and you might just need a light to remove them and clean up the background. But really, lighting the subject's what you want to do, and that will help make your Zoom calls look a lot nicer as well. And you can go even further. Like you can set up like a DSLR or even your phone and use that as a better webcam alternative, and those type of things work with Zoom well as well.
I love that. That's brilliant. I know I've got a ring light set in the corner over here. Wasn't very expensive from Amazon. Sometimes you can see my glasses with rings. That's an annoying thing about glasses. But that's the only downside of it. But yeah, it doesn't have to cost a fortune either, does it? These sort of things. It's easy to come by. Any other thoughts on that, or should we go on to the next question? There we go. We'll go on to the next question then. Caroline says this. Everyone has spoken about ProPresenter, and I don't know if anyone has any experience with it, but what alternatives are there? We're currently using an outdated version of SongPro for words. Anyone have any experience with anything than ProPresenter? I personally don't, so I don't know if there is anyone who can pitch in with this one.
We used Easy Worship back in the day. ProPresenter's just worth it. Just do it. Just make the leap. Just do it.
There we go. You're not on commission there from ProPresenter.
I'm not. But I've just been there, and it's just like, just get ProPresenter. Honestly, it's gonna change your life. So to put it in context, we also get it that ProPresenter is not the cheapest thing in the world. It is an investment, but I think for take kind of Gaz's and Oscar's words as well, I think there are so many benefits of ProPresenter. I think if you decide to invest, I think you won't regret it. But equally, is an investment. So, I think based on your question, we don't really have any details of other apps out there. But say we would probably suggest ProPresenter, wouldn't we, as a good option to go. Gaz, do you want to say anything there? You okay?
I think you covered it. I was just going to say something about spending money, I guess, because one of I've watched most of the day, and when you're talking about tech stuff and production stuff, you can easily walk away from a day like this and think, gosh, the shopping list has just suddenly got really expensive. And ProPresenter isn't a cheap software, but I guess what I'd encourage you to do is just look at your own context and look at what are the spends that are going to advance you the most, because otherwise you're in danger of like buying the last thing that you get told about, because it's the thing that's in the forefront of your mind. And actually you might look at your setup, and ProPresenter might be a great investment, but there might be something else that will help you more. If your lyrics are working fine at the minute, then it might not be the best spend. But if you're really struggling to get the combination of lyrics in your building and lower thirds, ProPresenter works really well for those type of things. I think that it's about 600 quid. So it's not a cheap spend, but it certainly is the best option out there for flexibility and reliability.
We've got Mick says about for lyrics, OpenLP and NDI tools work. And we've got Nigel saying about OpenLP. I don't have any personal experience of that. I'm not too sure if any of us do, but certainly worth checking out there and kind of seeing what they do.
And NDI is a good option for getting lyrics onto lower thirds, saving you like HDMI outputs if you can get that working reliably.
Guys, we've got literally about 15 minutes to end this session. Throw out there a question, really, that as we've talked a lot about today, and it's about the idea of stories. So, Bethan said about it earlier, good news stories are great and we should be sharing them more. And we know the power of a testimony, right? It says throughout the whole scripture, the power of a testimony, how it can transform lives. But just how do you source stories, good news stories in your church? And also, how do you make people feel comfortable about sharing stories? Because sharing about a story, a healing testimony, a testimony of salvation is a lot to open up about. It's your personal story. But how do you help people on the journey of sharing their testimony, sharing their story, and also, as I say, how do you get those stories anyway? So, Ben, do you want to kick us off? And I think Bethan might have something to add on to that as well. Go for it, Ben.
Yeah, we worked really hard at this, and it's like trying to, it's like banging your head against a brick wall sometimes. So we just make it part of all the conversations that we have. So in every staff meeting that we have, we'll ask if there's been a good news story that week, and just trying to encourage culture within our staff team and putting stuff on our staff WhatsApp and just sending each other encouragements in that way. And then So we try and create a story of good news storytelling within our staff team, and then once that's kind of established, we try and take that to the next level of shareable good news stories, because often people aren't ready to share their story, or or just don't feel comfortable with that. So we'll just kind of hold that. But our priority is kind of just to get the good news stories going within our team. We'll also we'll text key volunteers. So we'll text the volunteers that work in the furniture bank and be like, got any stories this week? Just because it encourages them as well. Aren't you just sometimes waiting for an opportunity to tell someone what's been going on at your church or the conversation, but you don't want to seem too big-headed because we're all English and polite. So we text our key volunteers and we put something in our weekly email blast. And actually this week on social media, I'm actually going to, on Friday, I'm going to try it as an engagement piece of, I'm just going to ask the question, share one amazing thing that God's done in your life. Just that simple question. And I'm hoping that we get a ton of responses on that. If not, I don't know what to do. Yeah, I hope we get a ton of responses on that, and maybe I'll take them on to a next step. And also we repurpose old stories, stories that kind of, we find that good news ages like it's great all the time. So we've been repurposing. We've set a challenge that in every Sunday service we would share a good news story. So we've been repurposing our baptism videos and stuff, and we've achieved it every Sunday this year so far.
Wow, I love it. That's great. I love that. Asking people for good news stories, just sourcing and sharing. That's brilliant. And Bethan, is that, what's been your kind of getting those stories? How's it come about, and what's it been like for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually echo everything that's been said already. And I think for us, we work with previously homeless young people. They're a large group of young people that we work with. So, naturally their days are quite up and down. And actually one day they might be really keen to do a radio interview on, BBC Devon, and the day comes and they bail. And that's completely understandable. And we work within those constraints, and we work sometimes under the presumption knowing that something might not happen. So we always, practically always offer anonymity, whether that's name changing. We had a young girl quite recently who had escaped quite a serious domestic violence situation, came to live with us, really wanted everybody to know her story, but couldn't have her photo taken because she didn't want her family to know where she now was, in case that kind of got out online. So, we really created, we told her story, we took photos of her from behind, doing the things that she enjoys, and that was really well received, and such an empowering opportunity for her as well. I think, just the other thing about what you're saying, Jason, about comfort. We were producing a promotional film quite recently for a housing project that we're building at the moment, and we invited various residents to take part in the film, to be filmed, but we got them each doing a hobby that they enjoy. So we filmed one of our female residents doing baking in our kitchen, and we filmed one of the guys outside his house doing maintenance on his bike. So we got them in their their everyday situation, and we went to find them. We didn't ask them to come to a building or an offices to do something quite formal. We met them where they were and provided that, did the purpose of the film, but within the context that they were comfortable with.
I love that. Actually, in people's where people feel comfortable, and obviously sometimes when you're doing something, it feels less intimidating to kind of share your story, doesn't it? So I love that. People, and it makes it very personable, doesn't it? And you get a sense of that. Do you know what, this is a human. This is what they do. This is their life, which I absolutely love. That it's absolutely brilliant.
And I would just encourage people, if that is okay. Sorry, just jump in. It's I wouldn't wait for the perfect moment, or I wouldn't say we need to wait for a budget to commission a film crew to go to this person's house and interview them. If you can do a Zoom call and it's a good story, it's going to work. As long as they can be heard, clearly, which is very doable now, like with headphones and stuff. So don't let it, like, you wanting to get the best production quality, put you out, like, talk yourself out of just putting a really good story out there. Just like a selfie with a long caption, you know, like Instagram's micro-blogging site now, so you can just write a really long caption. Or, you know, or a Zoom call. We do Zoom calls like twice a week, and you can obviously stream them live as well. So don't let trying to get that production like on point take away from the power of what could be a really good story. Story is king, always.
I love that. That's brilliant. We have literally got 5 minutes left and there's a ton of questions, so we'll crack on. John, recommended apps or sites for creating catchy, editable intro videos, 30 seconds. Fiverr and other places can be hard to find a Christian who gets what is aimed for. Cheers, all brilliant content. So I guess, like, you know, creating content in-house, some of us kind of use editing apps and programs. Do you want to just throw out some of the programs that you guys use for editing? I'll start. I use Premiere Pro, which is like it's obviously it takes a bit of a head spin at the start to get around it, but it's easy to do. An app for your phone is InShot. InShot is an app for your phone, not very expensive. Create little apps for your phone. I know as mentioned about Fiverr. You know, you can ask. Well, obviously it's $5 or more to create a video online, but that's another route. Any other programs people use for short shareable videos?
Yeah, we use Final Cut to edit, but I think like we've gone down the route of trying to look at those sites that will give you a template and you tweak the content and stuff like that. And often found if you've got an idea, which it sounds like you might have, John, if you've got an idea, it's sometimes quicker to just run with your idea than actually try and find it. You know, I've been there looking for the perfect intro video for your theme. And sometimes it's easier to just get a subscription to something like Video Blocks or Story Blocks, I think it's called, and where you can get a load of stock footage and then just get some background music and create your own version with some text overlay. I think sometimes that's the better way to go, actually.
I love it. I'm going to go on to another quick question because we're limited time here from Emma. We live stream worship from an iPhone and have been asked to have lyrics for worship. Any ideas? We only have a very small team. Any ideas, guys, of what these guys can do?
Send them out in advance. That's the best way to do it with the phone. Just publish your song list on your Facebook page in advance, and even like links to the lyrics. There's not an easy way to put lower thirds onto a phone, but that gives you the result, and then people can have the lyrics for themselves, or even put them in the chat.
Good idea. That's a great idea. I love it. Let's go on to the next question. Another question here. Do you really need to have a large tech team, lighting guy, video guy, audio guy to have a great setup? Well, you need to meet Mick. Mick's a one-man band. But any thoughts? You know, what are the key skills that we need to bring into the mix of producing a tech team, or any thoughts on that, really?
Yeah, I think it's important. I think having a good audio coming out of your stream is probably the most invaluable thing. That's the most important thing, because having audio that doesn't sound good can be a distraction. So I think having a good audio guy is probably really, really important. And then the other bits like video and stuff like that can come in to like just complement that. But I think audio is really, really important.
Brill. That's amazing. Yeah, I think you said something early on today, Gaz, didn't you? That actually you would spend a lot of investment in a room, in a building as well. Like not just looking for the cameras, but think about sound, think about lighting. It's all really important, right, Gaz?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I think looking at that question there, you've got to ask yourself, what can you set and forget, and what do you need to be fluid within the service? So lighting, for example, if you're short of team, get a really great scene, work hard on it in advance, and then just leave it alone. You don't have to have fancy dips after songs. You don't have to have refreshing looks. Just leave it alone and it will look great. You just have to scroll through YouTube to see content creators are using the same backdrop for years and their stuff is really popular. So yeah, things like audio, Oscar's right, it tends to be a bit more fluid. You have to turn a mic on when somebody somebody's speaking, and probably turn it off when they're not. But lighting you can leave alone. So try and look at what's the minimum team you can work with, and focus on the high impact roles, I guess.
That's really, really so. Guys, our time literally has flown by, and I realised we didn't get through all the questions. But would you be happy, I don't want to throw you at the deep end, but when you got time, just to perhaps go have a look at this video and just see if you can answer any the best you can, if you get time as well. So yeah, so for guys who've not had their question asked, don't worry. Hopefully we'll kind of address it in the chat in some way. Before we go, can I just have perhaps 30 seconds from each of you? An encouragement for people as they use the digital space, as they start off, and they might be at the very beginning of the journey, perhaps more advanced. How would you encourage people to step out using digital from your experience? What would you just say to a pastor or leader as they go use the online space for mission, discipleship, and everything like that? So, Gaz, want to kick us off?
Am I allowed to reuse something I've already said?
You can, go for it.
I think one really key lesson we learned early on is that right now there's so much content that you can view. It's really easy to get to fall into the comparison trap of looking at other places and feeling either good or bad about your own stuff. Just don't fall into that trap. Focus on your own progress. And let the success take care of itself. So build a culture of evaluation, of reviewing your things and looking at how you can make those little tweaks, and don't worry too much about comparing to other things. What's God given you? How can you maximize it? Tiny little improvements over the course of months make a huge difference. So that'd be my advice.
I love it. Oscar, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think just to add to sort of big up that point a bit again, I totally agree. At the beginning, knowing what you'd like to achieve, what are you dreaming for, what's your heart driving for, and then making small improvements as you go. And I think just trying, testing, reviewing, learning every week. I've learned so much since March last year. I feel like a different person because of how much we've been going through every week, looking through, okay, so what did we do last week? Well, what can we improve this week? Just making small improvements every week. Just don't be discouraged. Don't feel down, and don't fall in the comparison trap. That's true.
Brilliant advice there. Bethan, how about for yourself? Some advice.
Yeah. Number one bit of advice: ask yourself, is this the right message for the right people at the right time? Is this something encouraging that they need to hear? Do they need to hear it now? Just always asking yourself, I guess back to that audience thing we were talking about earlier, knowing your audience and asking yourself, is what's the right time to deliver a certain message to them?
Brilliant. I love that. Absolutely. And final word, Ben, go from you.
Yeah, I've got two things to say. I know that's a really cheeky story, but the first one I spoke about more earlier, so go back and watch that. It's just that pastors and stuff, you're doing an incredible job. You've got loads of content already. All you need to do is repurpose it for social media. The second one is I think a lot of the answer to a lot of the live streaming questions, I'd hold the live part of your live stream really lightly. When you're talking about adding words to songs, unreliable internet connections, you can do live simulations that can be just as engaging, and people won't even know a lot of the time. So we have a rule here that if it's live, it has to be worth being live. So there has to be an element of that. So I just think that could help a lot of people's situations where I think we have 3 questions. So one about lyrics, that would be helped if it wasn't live. 2 about internet connection, that would be helped if it wasn't live. You can do a live sim. And 3, there was a question about, the one-man band. Obviously, that would be helped if it wasn't live. So just to hold that lightly as well. And just because everyone else is doing live, like these guys are saying about the comparison trap, don't be drawn into that. Do what works for you.
Guys, thank you so much for all your contributions. Honestly, time has flown, but thank you because it's been so valuable. And guys, our conference literally is one final session with Matt Hogg, who is a vicar, and he's got some great words of wisdom to end our conference together. So check that out literally in 2 minutes' time. You can watch that session. So guys, thank you so much. And appreciate you all. And thank you for joining us today. Did you say bye-bye to everyone? To the casual wave.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.